What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So we all know that fencing isn't a sport that the average person sees very often. Most people's exposure to the game comes from its occasional appearance in TV and film, or every 4 years when it pops up briefly on TV for the Olympic Games. It's safe to say that the average person doesn't know much about fencing, and let's be honest, why would they? So as a result, there are some misunderstandings that often pop up here and there in the general perception of the sport, often exacerbated by internet experts who seem to find their way into the comment sections of any mildly viral fencing video. So the first thing to address is the flexibility of the blades. Now, if you've never held a foil, an epee or a sabre, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the blades bend like a car antenna. And it's true that the blades are designed to flex. This is so when you hit or stab someone, it doesn't break their ribs. However, when seen in slow motion and held by professionals capable of manipulating the blade at a very high speed, the bendiness is often much exaggerated. I mean, even a baseball bat looks bendy in slow motion. A related point that is often made is that the blades should be thicker so that they are made more visible. And it's true, fencing is often streamed in pretty abysmal quality, making the blades often seem invisible. But if you watch enough of the game, you don't actually have to see the blades to know where they are. You can tell based on the hand positions and the movements of the fences. It's like in ice hockey, the puck isn't always easy to follow for a first time viewer, but when you get a feeling for the game, you know who is in possession without actually having to see it. The next point is kind of the opposite of the previous one. If you've ever mentioned to someone that you do fencing, one of the first questions you'll get asked, in a kind of concerned voice, is, "The blades aren't actually sharp, are they?" No, the blades aren't sharp. Fencing is actually one of the safest sports around. Head injuries are rare, unlike in football, and I've even heard that knee injuries and ankle injuries are less likely in fencing than in tennis. To make it easier to spot who gets hit, fencing uses an electronic scoring machine. We call it the box. The box gives a red or green light depending on who hits. You'd be forgiven for thinking that red means a bad hit and green means a good hit. But the colour of the lights only actually serves to tell the difference between the two lights. The fencer on the left is red and the fencer on the right is green. It's kind of like how in boxing you have a red corner and a blue corner. Maybe green and red aren't the best colours because colourblind people might struggle to tell the difference, but it's always been like that, so I can't see it ever changing. Another common thing you'll hear is, fencing is just about who hits first. Now this is kind of true, but not exactly. How it actually works is after one fencer hits, there is a window of time in which the other fencer has a chance to register a hit and get a light on the box. The length of this window varies depending on the discipline. In epee, the scoring system is pretty straightforward. If you get a light, you get a point. So if you both hit within 40 milliseconds, you both get a point. In foil and sabre, if both fencers get a light, the referee must decide who gets a point based on the conventions. These are basically rules that say that certain moves have priority over others. Notably, a correctly executed attack has priority over someone who lazily tries to sneak in their own hit, instead of defending themselves properly. It's kind of difficult to explain, but basically it means frequently the person who hit first doesn't actually get the point.
There's a very late finish by Arrigo, but it's still her attack off target.
The last point is probably the most irritating. In a real fight, they would both be dead. Well, yeah, obviously, but this isn't a real fight, and no one is actually treating it as such. Sure, there are some people in the fringes of the sport who make an attempt to stay in touch with fencing's martial origins, but at this point, competitive fencing isn't about simulating or preparing for armed combat. It's a rich game with a wide variety of techniques and tactics, much like any sport. Okay, so hopefully that might have corrected a few misunderstandings. If you have any more to add, go ahead and leave them in the comments.